Hello, welcome to another tutorial from Moo Out. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make a speed reading app using Windows Form and C#. In this app, we can copy and paste a large article. It will break down the article into single words and show them in a different window, one word at a time. In this app, we will be able to pause and resume reading on the reader window, and you'll be able to change the speed on how frequently the words appear on that window. So let's just run this app. As you can see, this is the basic user interface. So you have got two buttons, a combo box with numbers from 1 to 9, and we can copy and paste any article or a paragraph in here. So for now, I'm just going to copy and paste this one. As you can see, I put some punctuation symbols here, and I also have some other symbols just to see if the app picks it up. So it's coded so it ignores the punctuation symbols and it only focuses on the words. So if I click on start, I'm just going to choose number 3 and click on start here. So as you can see, it actually loads up the strings and it shows one word at a time on the screen, so it's a lot easier for us to read. Okay, I'm also able to pause the reading and I'm able to resume it as well. Okay, so if I close this one now, I'm going to go back and change the speed to 1. So the lower the number, the higher the speed of the reading. So if I click on start again, as you can see, the words are changing at a lot faster rate. Once it gets to the end of the screen, it should show a message box to say the end of the article has been reached. So let's get to that. Okay, so it says end of the article, and we can click OK and we can close this one. So we're going to be making this program in Visual Studio. So let's go and make a new project. In the first window, let's go and create a new project in Visual Studio. So find the Windows Form .NET framework. So it should, if it doesn't appear on the side on the recent, it's going to be on here. So you can always check the Windows Form right here, .NET framework. Yes, I'm just going to choose that one and click next. Name this one Speed Reading App. Moo Out. Click create. Okay, so this is the default form that gets created for us. So we're just going to make this one slightly bigger and put a text box in here. Okay, so I'm just going to go to the properties for the form and change the title to Moo Out. Okay, and also I'm going to start adding a few components to this one as well. So what we're going to need is we're going to need 2 buttons. Okay, we're going to need a combo box right here. We need a label. Okay, and 1 text box. Oh, there you go, added there. Let's just organize these and then we can add the timer in the end. Okay. So the button. Okay, so for button 1, let's go to the properties window for button 1 and type in btn start. So that's the name of the button. Okay, also the text here can be start. Right, this one's going to be btn help. Okay, change the text here to help. This is the speed combo box. Speed combo box. So it's best to name them so we can sort of see what's being used. So this one we don't need to name it because this is just for information. So instead of in the text, instead of saying label 1, it's just going to say speed colon here. So we can just put that right here first. Okay. Yeah. Right. So for the combo box, we need to add a few items in it. So if you select the combo box, there's a little triangle there that we can click on. So if you click on that, then just click on edit items to be able to add items. So just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so we need 9 of those, and now we click on the text box, click on the little triangle here on the text box and click on multi-line. So what that does is that's going to allow us to make the text box as big as we need it. So we don't need that much space here. Move that up a little bit maybe. Okay. Right, so we got our label, combo box, 2 buttons, and text box. Right, so we also need a timer. Okay, and let's go to the properties of the timer and call this one reading timer. Okay, we can leave it as it is for now. We'll add the events in a minute. Let's go back to the Solutions Explorer, and in here we need to add 2 more forms. Right click on the name of the project, so it says Speedy Reading App Moo ICT. Right click on that, and then you can go to add and then create a new form. Click on the form, Windows form, and in this one we're going to call this one reading window. Okay, click add. Okay, so that's the reading window. We'll go back to the Solutions Explorer and do the same again. Form, Windows form, then here we'll say help window. Okay, so the help window is created just so it shows some information on how to use the app. It's a lot easier for people who are using it for the first time. And obviously reading window, this one's going to be the one that shows the words on the screen. Okay, and this is the one that we sort of set up the article in the first place. What we're going to need here is, let's set up the reading window. So I'm just going to make that one slightly bigger. We need a label and a button for this one. So let's add a label here first. Go to the properties, set the label to LBL words. Then we're going to change that to word like so. Okay. And we need to make it bigger. 48. Right, so what we want is this window to be full screen when it loads up, and then this label to stay in the middle of the window. So one of the ways to achieve that is going to be through disabling the auto size. So we're going to set auto size for the label. So while the label is selected, if you go to properties window, the auto size, set that from true to false. So now we're able to set the size of the label. So I can just go and make this one as large as the form here. Right, and then I'm going to set, if you come back here, the text align, instead of top left, we want it to stay in the center, so middle center. With that now set, we need to add a button to this one. So let's add a button to this form. Make it slightly bigger because the screen is going to be large, so it's okay for the button to be slightly bigger as well. So we're going to change this one to BTN pause. Okay, and then just set that to text to pause. Make the text a bit bigger. So click on the font option, 16 maybe. Okay, and one last thing we need to do is, actually we need to change the color of this one. So for the label, if you click on the label, go to foreground, and then just choose the color yellow. And if you click on the form on the top bar here, if I go to back color and set that to black, so that way the text is more readable on the screen. All right, so, and also we need to set the title for this one as well. Reading window, let's go to the help screen. Change that one's text to help window, and we're just going to add a label here to show some helpful information about what we can do in this app. So we're going to do a multi-line label. So right now we can only add one line, but if you go to the properties in the text, you'll see the little drop down icon here. So if you click on that, you should be able to add multi-line. So you can say reading app. speed option from the drop down menu. Okay. Lower number equals to master speed. Okay, and click start when ready. You can pause or resume the text on the reader window. Also, you can come back and in the main window. Okay, so with that done, I'm gonna make this slightly large. I might just disable the auto size on this one as well, but the text wraps around. A bit bigger, and don't really need the whole window, do we? It's okay. So just a small little helpful information about what to do, and that window is going to load up when we click on the help button. Okay, so now let's go and add the events that we need. So click on the start button here, go to properties, click on the events window there, and you should be able to see the click event to link to the button. So we're going to say start reading. Okay, so there's the start reading event. So go to the help button. So it should be in the events window already. Show help. Okay, so the show help event is now added. Let's click on the reading timer, and then inside the tick option, just say reading timer event. Press enter, and now the reading timer event is added as well. Okay, so let's go to the reading window, and we need to add a event to this pause button. So click on the event, click on the properties, and go to the events window. In here, just say set pause resume. Okay, so that's the event that's added to the reading window. So the events that are in this window and the events that are in this window are totally separate from each other, so that way we can script it any way that we want. So only time those events are going to be triggered or accessible is when the window is in display. Okay, so right. One of the things we need to do for the label here is we need to change the modifier so we're able to access the label from this script here. So the modifier is what allows us to access things from any other form. So in this form we have got two buttons. So in this form we have got one button and one label. We've got two components. So in the properties you always have a modifier. So as you can see the modifiers option here, right? And you have the modifiers option for the button as well. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to change the modifier to internal, so we can change the values of this label from the other form. So if you click on modifiers and then click on internal, so that way any form inside of this app project, right, can access this label from any of the forms. So I can access it as long as I have a link to it. I should be able to access the label from there, and I'll show you how that's done in a minute. Okay, so I think first let's start off with coding the main form, and then we can move on to the reading window. Okay, so let's go and make some space for the variables. These variables are going to be the private variables because we don't need to access them from anywhere other than just this script. So we don't need to make declare any public or private in front of it. So we can just say string words like so. We're going to do a string array called split up. Okay, and then an integer total words, another integer counting, okay, another integer interval speed. Also interval setting is fine. and we need a reference to the reader window, so we can say reading window here. Okay, and we call this one reader for now, and then we'll create a new instance of it inside the start event. Okay, let's go int local counter. So the local counter is going to help us with the pause and resume. We also need a character array to find which characters to ignore when the labels are being shown on the screen. Okay, so we can put this here, say pause to trim. Okay, do the curly brackets, and then we can use a single quote symbol, and then in the middle of that we can put the symbols that we want. Let's zoom in here a little bit, probably see better. Okay, and then do a one for the period, one for the comma. Okay, and as you can see, once you do the single quote, your symbol, and then single quote to close it, and then do a comma to separate them out. Okay, single quote minus single quote, and then single quote plus single quote. Okay, and for the last one, you don't need to do any commas because there's no items after it. Okay, we also need a string here called clean text. So these are the variables that we need for this form. So if I just run this one, I can just show you what I'm about to do next. So as you can see right now, the form runs perfectly fine. One of the things is what we want to do is when the form is loaded, we want to set this one to 1 should be the default value that shows on the combo box. Okay, so to do that, what we can do here is when the form loads, this constructor here is going to run. So what we're going to say here is speed combo box.text is going to be equals to 1. So we just show the 1 on the combo box when it's run first. Let's just start here again. As you can see now, the combo box starts off with 1, so that way there's always a value here for us to check. So just in case somebody doesn't change the value and click on start, instead of the program not working, so we just keep a value inside of it by default. Let's start on the start reading event. So to do that, first I think, did we name this one? I remember, no, we haven't. All right, so for the text box that we added to the main form, we're going to rename this one to, instead of text box 1, we'll rename this one to main text. So that's the main text that we are going to be taking and then splitting apart. Okay, so let's go back to the start window here. So let's do a new instance of the reader. So reader, the new reading window. So this is creating a new instance of the reader window here. So as you can see now, the reason we changed the modifier to the label before is now we can reference the reader and we can access the label from there. So you can see, I think this was LBL words. So as you can see, you got the LBL words there. So if I can just change something from here, let's say like this, we do need to access the text here actually as well, right? And what's the last thing I can do is just say reader.show, right? So that way we are changing values of a item on another window from the main one. Okay, so if I go here now and if I click on start, so as you can see, it actually loads up the reader window and it changes the text here. Okay, so that's what the modifiers do. So let's delete these for just for now, and then we can start with them in a minute. So what we're going to do is say words is equal to main text.text. So we're going to save all the text that are pasted inside the main text box into the words, and then you can say split up is equals to words.split. Okay, so it's going to split all the text inside of this one that we saved now. Let's say total words is equals to split up dot length. Okay, so as it's going to check how many words are saved inside the split up array. Okay, let's make a new integer here. So what we're going to do is we're going to convert the numbers that are available inside the speed combo box. So anything that's available in the speed combo box is seen as a string, so we need to convert it into an integer. We're going to create a local integer here called value, and then that's going to convert to int 32, and then obviously we're going to say speed combo box.text. So whatever number is available there, is going to change that to a integer, and we're going to use that integer to speed up or slow down the timer. Okay, so you can say reading timer interval is equals to 100 multiplied by value. Okay, so it's going to run at 100 milliseconds, right? So if it's a 1, it's going to run at 100. If it's a 2, it's going to run at 200. If it's a 3, it's going to run at 300. Counting is going to be -1. Local counter is going to be set to 0. Reader.show. So this is going to show the reader window, and now we're going to say reading timer.start. So we can start the reading timer now. Okay, so let's set up the help window. So in the help window, obviously we can say help window show help equals new help window, and then this is just going to say show help.show. Right. So what that's going to do now is, obviously this one, the start window is not going to do anything at the moment because nothing's been changed in the timer. So in the help window, if I click on that, it should load up the help. Okay, so now we got all of those connections done. Okay, so before we start on the reading timer event, what we need to do, we need to set up a few things in the scripts for this window here. Okay, so let's go do that now. So this is the reading window script. So what we're going to need here is we're going to need 2 public booleans. So the reason we are calling them public is so we can access them from this script. Okay, so let me show you how this works. So let's say public bool is paused is equals to false, right? And then if I just make another boolean here by default, say is closed to false. So, and then if I go back to the script here, because the instance is being created here for the reader, right? So if I just try this here, so I say reader.is paused. See, I can access that is paused boolean from this script, which is created on this one here. But let me just set that to false, it's just for practice. So say reader.is closed. As you can see, is closed cannot be found because, try the actual spelling of this, right? So is closed cannot be found, right? Because of it's inaccessible due to its protection level, because this is seen as a private boolean rather than a public one. So the public one can be seen from outside the script, and the private ones are only used inside the script. If I set a public declaration here for this one and then go back to this form, so it should, the red line should go away right now. So I'm able to access both. Okay, so we're going to be able to access the behavior of this window directly from this one. So the timer is set to here, so we can actually check how fast it's going, or whether it's closed, or whether the if it's paused we can stop the timer, and if it's unpaused we can start the timer again. Okay, so let's try and have a go at this. Okay, so we got these 2 booleans set up here. We got the set, pause, and resume. So we're going to need 2 more events to this one. So one is going to be when the form actually loads, and one is going to be for when the form closes. So if I click on the bar here, go to properties and add those 2 events. So there's one called load, right? So just gonna say here reader window loaded, right? And then that's the event. So this event is going to run when the form is loaded, and then the second event is going to be when the form is closed. So form is closed right here. So say reader window closed. Okay, so what we want to do is, if the form is closed, we want to set the is closed boolean to false. Is closed boolean to true. Okay, and that's what we're going to do here. So we're just going to set that to true. Okay, and there'll be a condition in the main form to check whether this window is closed or not. Okay, so by default, when the window is loaded, what we want to do is we want to check the height and width of the primary display, and we want to scale the window to that display. Okay, so let's do that first. Say int is equals to screen primary screen bounds height. Okay, and then int balanced or width. Okay, and obviously we're going to say LBL words height is equal to height and equals to width. Okay, and is closed to false and is paused to false as well. So that will be the default value. So this is for the label, so we want the label to match the screen size. Okay, so this is for the label. What we're going to do now is we're gonna, once this window starts, we want it to start maximized. So if you go back to the properties, it says here Windows state, we're going to change that to maximized. Okay, so when the window is loaded, it should be maximized and it fills up the screen. So if you want to just try and have a go at this, so let's see if I can just click start. So as you can see, as soon as I click start, it fills up the entire window, and also you can see the word showing up in the middle. So I can just close this now, and we also need to set the pause and resume. So if I go here, just say is paused is equals to, and so what's this going to do is just going to change the state. So if is pause is false and the button is clicked, it's going to change it to true. If is pause is true, then it's going to change it to false. Okay, so you're going to say here is paused is equals to true. Pause dot text is going to be resume, because if it's paused, then we just want it to resume, and then obviously we're going to say another if here, say is paused is equals false, then dot text is going to be pause. Okay, so either you're going to go between the two states, so it's a lot easier to do that this way. So if I can just start the app again, right, and click on start. So here's the pause button here, so if I click on that, it goes to resume. If I click on it again, it goes back to pause. So you can just switch between the two states there. Okay, so that's working fine. Right, we can now go and start on the reading timer event. So the reading timer event is going to be quite simple. So we go to local counter is equals to counting. So we're just linking those two integers together, and then we're going to say here if counting is greater than or equals to total words minus 1. So if it goes above, the number goes above the amount of words that are available in the article, we want to stop the timer. So you can say reading timer or stop, and then we're going to show a message box, show, then inside the message box we can just gonna say here end of article, and then the title here, say Moo says. Okay, so that's for the body of the message box, and that's for the title of the message box. And we're going to reset counting back to -1. We also want to check if the window was closed instead of reaching the end, so in the middle of the reading, if the window was closed. So you can say else if, right? So you can say reader dot is closed equals true. Then we just want to stop the reading timer so it doesn't just run in the background. Okay, and obviously if none of those things are true, then we can just go and check if the reader is paused or unpaused. All right, so we can just say here reader is paused is equals true. If it's paused, that is, and then we're just going to say counting is equal to local counter. So we're just going to stop the counting from increasing every time. If it's not, then we're going to increase the counting. So plus equals 1. So it's going to increase it by 1 every time the timer ticks. Okay, and if it is paused, then because the local counter is keeping track of what's the value of the counting is, so then we're just able to stop it to where the number is at the moment. Okay, right, and last bit is we need to actually clean the words. So all the words that are being saved here, they are going to be saved with the symbols and the punctuation as well. So it's going to go into the split up. Yes, so what we need to do now is we're going to say clean text equals to split up, and of course whatever the counting, that's not the local counter, counting, yep. And then we can use the trim function here, and then we're gonna pass in the the characters to trim from that string. Okay, and then you can say reader lbl words dot text is equals to clean text. Okay, so I'm going to try and see how that works out for us. I'm just going to save you all. So do a file, save all. Okay, I'm just going to copy that other paragraph from here. Let's run the app. So now I'm going to choose number 4 from the list, paste it. We get the symbols and the words and stuff on here. So I'll click on start. I just saw the explanation marks being shown here. And let's see what the issue is. Oh yeah, that's because I didn't add the explanation one. Okay, let's do the explanation mark here. Right, so that way, so because I didn't add that, that's why it sort of skipped over it. I put the asterisk. Okay, that looks fine, to be honest. Let's try that again. Try something slightly faster. Okay, so start. Okay, we didn't see the asterisk again. Then click pause. Okay, it pauses it there. Click resume. It resumes it again. So if I close it, the timer should stop as well. And I want to try with the fastest. So I want to see if I can get to the end of the article and shows the message box. Nice. Okay, so that's it. So the program is actually working as intended. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I will see you on the next one.